think we got that running. So we'll call the council meeting to order, February 25th, 2020. And let's see, the first thing we'll do is let's call to order. Roll call.
Here. Karen.
Karen here.
John.
John here.
Jerry.
Jerry here.
Kathy here.
So that gets us roll call. We've got a agenda in front of us here for tonight. It's now also up on the new screen. Thank you to our city staff for the new capabilities we've got here between the microphones and the video equipment. Can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda? The agenda. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Doug, aye.
Karen, aye.
John, aye.
Jerry, aye.
Kathy, aye.
All right, the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and I would like a motion, please, to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second. Doug, aye.
Karen, aye.
John, aye.
Jerry, aye.
Kathy, aye.
Very good. All right, next up on the agenda is a public hearing for fiscal year 21 maximum property tax dollars. So I think we need to start with, oh no, I just opened it, right? No motion to open? Okay. So we're open for public comment. I'll ask how many people have read or know what the maximum property tax dollars is about. Any public comment on it?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Doug, aye.
Karen, aye.
John, aye.
Jerry, aye.
Kathy, aye.
Okay, next one is public hearing for Lot 1-1, West Dubuque Industrial
No,
Park.
we're going to approve the resolution.
Actually, Jim, the resolution first, please.
That was the public hearing.
Oh, sorry. So second, all right, on the maximum property dollars, we need first to get a resolution approving the maximum property tax dollars to certify for levy.
I'll make a motion, resolution 2020. What's
It'll be
resolution?
number 10.
Number 10, resolution approving the maximum tax dollar from certain levies for the city proposal fiscal year 2020-2021 budget. Second that. Doug, aye.
Karen, aye.
John, aye.
Jerry, aye.
Kathy, aye.
Okay, we'll get in the rhythm here. Next item is public hearing for Lot 1-1, West Dubuque Industrial Park, number 10, property transfer. So if anybody has any thoughts to share on the property transfer proposal that's on this, that we've got on the agenda, now's the time. Not hearing any input.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second. Doug, aye.
Karen, aye.
John, aye.
Jerry, aye.
Kathy, aye.
And then we also need a motion to approve the resolution for the same.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020-11, property transfer.
I'll second.
Doug, aye.
Karen, aye.
John, aye.
Jerry, aye.
Kathy, aye.
And then we have a third and final public hearing tonight. This one's on the capital improvement plan adoption. So we will open the public hearing for the capital improvement plan now.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
Doug, aye.
Karen, aye.
John, aye.
Jerry, aye.
Kathy, aye.
And then we will need a motion to approve the same.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2020-12, resolution approving the capital improvement plan for 2020 to 2025.
I'll second. Doug, aye.
Karen, aye.
John, aye.
Jerry, aye.
Kathy, aye.
All right, that concludes the public hearing section. Now we'll go into the administration. And the first agenda item under administration is a presentation on the NICC renovation project.
Awesome. So thank you, Mayor Burton and City Council. My name is Benjamin Beard with Strockett Johnson Architects. Daniel Hinchin with WHKS is the civil engineer of record. We were asked by Whitney to present this to you. I don't think there's an approval or anything that's associated with it. It's more or less just to keep you guys up to speed on what's going on with your neighbors. In particular, we wanted to look at the traffic circle associated with the project. We thought we'd take a step back and kind of look in general about what's going on with the project and large. So it'll be a bit of a repeat for the mayor, but for the rest of you, hopefully it'll enlighten me. So we were hired a little over a year ago. Let's see here. By NICC to help them design and usher in several projects across their district. Some are up in Calmer, some are here in Peosta, then we have a couple of centers down in Dubuque that we're working on as well. The lion's share of the monies in that bond referendum are associated with the main building here. And I'm assuming we're all familiar with the main building. There is a portion that was renovated in the last bond referendum, and that's the top third or so of the building. Our project entails a major gut remodel of the lower 2/3 of the building. It also entails some minor additions to the building, facilitating things like vertical circulation in the building. We are also connecting the main building to the IT building to help facilitate some transition between those two. And then some minor and not so minor site improvements. One of the the visions for the project was, as we kind of rethink the way you flow into the space from the site, from the city, was really re-envisioning the main entrance into the building. And so this area here coordinates with the west point of the existing library, right where you enter into the library part of the building. Let me open up a rendering here for you. So here's that point in the background here, and there's the big screen wall for those of you familiar with that. Another angle of that here. So part of that vision, like I said, this would be the new main entrance to the building. What we're doing here is kind of accentuating that point. We're extending it out a little bit, and we're also increasing the height of that. So it kind of draws attention, it breaks the building line, and kind of is a beacon on a hill, so to speak, from the building standpoint. This portion of the building to the left is the existing library. A good chunk of the project is beautification of the existing building, so one of the things that entailed is covering the exterior envelope with new materials. So, to the point at hand, related to kind of the new entrance into the building and the kind of the importance of that access, we have been working on, let's see here. So kind of relaying out the parking lot approach as you approach the building. So if you're coming down NICC Drive today, you hit the edge of what we call the west lot, and there's a kink in the road that goes perpendicular or orthogonal to the library. So as part of kind of the re-envisioning of that, we wanted to incorporate this traffic circle, the roundabout, and then direct guests to the college right at that entry component. The roundabout also helps to facilitate traffic going to the north and south, so around the north side of the lot, and then the south side of the lot down to the daycare and also the left side of the screen, and then one of the drawings our civil engineer puts together describes all the signage associated with that. That's what we're looking at here. So I think in a nutshell, that's kind of what we're doing next door. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Do you have any renderings showing this, or is it just all drawings like this?
Oh, yep, great point. I do have a couple more. Not showing the reworked road, but of the building in general. So west view is where we started. This is kind of a southwest view. For those of you familiar with the building, kind of right smack dab in the middle here, there's an existing bridge that goes in. There's a stair silo. Both of those components would be coming out as part of this work. This is the proposed view from the south lot, looking at the linkage between the main building to the left and the IT building to the right. So there's a certain kind of modern flair that was incorporated into the IT building on the right. We're pulling some of those themes into the proposed work. And then here's an aerial view of that rendering. So I think with that sums up the presentation.
What type of time frame, or when do you plan on breaking ground?
So construction bidding would end in the May timeframe. Construction could start as early as mid-May, early June.
What type of time frame are you looking to complete?
So in general, it's about a 26-month construction process. Because NICC has to move staff and faculty to other parts of the building, we have to stage it in 4 phases. The site work would potentially occur the summer of 2021, so it's not for a little bit yet. Yeah.
I think it looks good.
Yeah, it'll go out to bid the end of March, so right around the corner here.
Am I correct in assuming you would just use the north entrance then during the construction of the roundabout?
Yeah, we're actually going to leave the bridge. Oh, I'm sorry, the street entrance, yes. Likely, and Dan, I don't know if you can speak to the feasibility of, doing half of the NICC drive at a time. I mean, I know that I've seen that, but
We would prefer to
all at once, yeah.
So just close the west entrance and just use just the north?
Birch Road, yeah, access point.
And would there be a possibility to open up Enterprise Drive? It's the southernmost entrance down here to this lot that used to be open.
Yeah, as a temporary measure, I know the college is not interested in long-term re-engagement of that road, but as a temporary measure, that could be an option too.
I think that would help keep that traffic off that residential road.
Well, yeah, especially since it's already kind of a little bit of a bottleneck in the morning with kids going to the elementary school and people leaving to go to work and dropping off and picking up. And it'd be better if we had another entrance in there too. So if you could look into that, that'd be nice.
Yeah, sure.
Did you say it's in or going out, it's right turn that's bad?
It's the left turn that's bad. We visited about this.
On the Enterprise Drive.
Gentleman, yeah, stopped in and visited with Dean, so that is a consideration they're talking about. Dean brought up that when coming into that road is really not an issue, it's when you're coming out and you're trying to turn left and there's trucks coming out from the other side of Enterprise, so I think it should be, but it's gonna be timed in the summer, the roundabout part, so hopefully the NICC, the school traffic should be at the lowest point, but it's still something we'll have to work through.
And it's that 3 o'clock time frame when the business is let
Right,
out, that's
right.
really, really busy. So that might be something to keep some attention.
And this may be a question for someone else, but if using the Enterprise Drive isn't an option, is there a way to stagger classes to stay away from that 3 o'clock range of, as far as the students coming and going, and or the 6:30 to 8 o'clock in the morning type time frame.
Yeah, I can't speak to that
Right.
specifically. I know that just the phasing, sequencing of itself is kind of problematic and a burden on the school just because of the stuff going on in the building. But if that was something they would need to look at, we could certainly.
Just a thought. I mean,
Yeah.
we're talking about traffic that might.
Actually, the other two schools aren't in session during the summer, so if you didn't most of your outside work in the summer, it may not be that big of a problem.
Right.
Sounds like you're tuned into the traffic concerns. You'll have some options.
We definitely don't want to make anything worse for folks.
Right.
How long would you guess that would be down?
I would say it's gonna be down 4 or 5 months.
Well, and to your question, I guess, there's more related with the site work. We were thinking it could happen all within that summer timeframe.
There's gonna be certain things you have to occur before, but it's,
Leading up to that, yeah.
but it won't be big road things. It's gonna be more water lines. Yes.
Anything else?
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you. Anybody?
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. It's very impressive.
All yours.
Yes. Okay, there's no specific action on that. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is also a presentation by Comelec regarding their fiber project.
I think we need to set a public hearing for the key on
That's
What's
back
next?
to Comelec. But thanks for that help.
That's the police one or some guy.
Thank you, yes.
Where did that down? Oh, that was,
Okay.
It's not, it's
that was this one. That was this one.
I'm Jeff Sweat from Comlex Services. Joe Bill.
Joe Billmeyer, sales team there at Comlec.
Vulcan's Incorporated. What we're here to talk to you about is Comlex bringing fiber to the city of Peosta as an internet provider. We partnered with some other cities, Dyersville, City of Asbury. And some of the things we do unique in our partnerships is we bring our fiber in, we provide dark fiber for some of the city entities, maybe between buildings, sewer plant, cameras, different things like that. And our main goal is just to get us in front of you so we can keep going forward with this discussion.
Some of you may already be familiar with us. We have been operating here in Peosta for a number of years with our high-speed wireless internet service. So we already have a pretty great customer base established here in Peosta. And that service is fantastic, but nothing stands toe-to-toe with the fiber optic internet connection. It's truly it's the newest and most advanced internet option on the market today, offering the fastest connection you can possibly get. And we do offer all of our services, it's unlimited, no contract. We don't really operate the similar way as some of the other competitors do in the area here. We try to keep our prices as low as possible. Typically, from what I've seen, I'm on the sales team. For the most part, at least, about 20%, if not much more, at least expensive than the other competitors in the area. Prices start as low as $35 a month for the service itself. And then as far as like a networking standpoint for larger companies, we can really handle any of your needs. I'm not the network engineer, but from my experience of doing business in Asbury and Dyersville, we can really handle everyone's needs. Approachable, we don't outsource any customer service, anything like that. If you ever have any issues or concerns, you can actually just step right into our office. We have accountability. You can talk to the owners if you ever have any disputes or anything like that. They're very approachable people. Yeah, we're very excited to hopefully bring our fiber services here to you.
what's the time frame?
So the time frame is hopefully as soon as the ground thaws and Vulcans can go out there and do the construction, laying the foundation, the bolts, the conduit, to get that all established. The boring, yeah. So hopefully, by hopefully midsummer, no issues. We can start signing up here, the customers in the area for this service. So, and then that brings it. Hopefully, I think Keith sent over the maps. So if you had any particular, this is the tentative build out that we're working off of. But if there's a certain building that you're going to really want with that fiber service, that's something that we could always work in the build out. That'd be nice to know, soon as we move forward.
And yeah, our fiber engineer is actually at a training today on fiber. But we do our own in-house design and the build out. It's kind of do it in phases. There should be one overall that goes for the water tower.
Is this for residential and the industrial park?
Yes.
So this is the overall. I don't know if you can zoom in much at all.
There we go. So that the red dot on the left, that's where the fiber would come in.
Yep.
And we'll go east, and then we'll branch off that in both directions. And that's phase one as far as the design goes. And like Joe said, if something within reason of that main feed was in desired need, then we'd have him rework his design and see what he could do.
Is phase 2 going up north there at all?
Yes, going across the tracks is a challenge because you're getting, the railroad involved. And as far as boring the railroad tracks, I know it's a permit process.
Yeah.
So I live up there, and I'd love to be one of the first people.
You know anybody on the railroad?
So this is just phase one. I mean, it was similar with every area that we brought our fiber service to. This will be the first initial push, and then each year we'll just expand off of that. But yeah, for this year, this is what our goal is. So as we move forward, our goal is definitely just to continue expanding that as much as possible.
When would you see a phase as far as getting into the industrial park?
No, I don't know if Keith has anything set in stone, but we can certainly ask him and get back to you on that for sure.
Yeah, so that's something I can definitely ask him when he gets back.
There'll be some boring challenges, a little more concrete.
Right. I met with a few of the businesses down there. They would love for fiber optic.
Sure, yeah. So yeah, it's definitely something that we can bring up with Keith to get an idea of what he thinks, a time frame on that. We can definitely get back with you on that.
Okay.
Do you use hydro excavating?
What's that?
Do you do any hydro excavating on this?
Yeah. So all the utilities are hydro excavated. We actually directional drill all the conduit in, but all the existing utilities are hydro excavated. So we can verify the utilities.
Who does that work?
What's that?
Who does that work?
We do.
You do your own?
We're out of Dyersville.
Not Kamala.
No, I'm with Vulcan's Excavating. We've done quite a bit of projects here in town for the local contractors and everything. We're a underground boring contractor. So the hydro excavating is actually just using high pressure water to verify the existing utility, the gas service going to the house, phone
Then are you
service.
going to use it to run under Peosta Street?
Then everything else is directionally drilled in. And that's underground boring. And most all of this is all in a conduit, either a 2-inch or an 1.25-inch conduit that then Commonwealth pulls the fiber through. They have underground vaults. Basically nothing is above ground.
Thank you.
So there'd be nothing sticking up. You said they're all flush with ground, the boxes?
They are, yep.
Yeah, previous
Thank you for that.
towns, what we did was always vaults, underground vaults. They never used any pedestals, so everything is flush to the ground.
Yeah, we've definitely got that request in the past, and yes, yep, flush with the ground, green lady can, not too noticeable.
Somebody else came through the neighborhood and didn't.
Yeah.
And that didn't go so well.
I'm sure, I'm sure.
Do you guys need help with the railroad? Getting in contact or anything that you asked us to help you with?
Well, what we did with Dyersville is Mick actually, he was the one that kind of presented to the railroad and did it because a city has an easier process with the railroad. And then they turned it over to Comelec, you know, and I don't know how they can work it all out, but you know, maybe you could talk to Nick with it for Dyersville, because we did the exact same thing through there, and it was even still a process then, but it was definitely easier.
But, you know, if we keep going forward, it's something to start sooner than later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep our process moving.
So you will see an agreement at the next council meeting between the city and Comelec. It was similar to, they have the same agreements in Dyersville, Asbury. So we've consulted them, and it will just outline the responsibilities of each party and the use of the right of way and some services that they provide to the city. So that will all be in an agreement that will be presented at the next meeting.
Sure. If you said it, I missed it.
Copy of that layout, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I have one right here.
Oh.
Let's see.
If you said it, I missed it. Talk to me about the speed difference between the current wireless service and the fiber.
Yeah, I can help you with that. So with our current wireless internet service, it's going to get you up to 40 megabytes per second in download speed, 25 on the upload side. And there are things we can do with the wireless service, like a dedicated frequency to increase those speeds. That'd be primarily for like a large business that's looking to do it, but just a regular wireless internet service, that's what you can expect for speeds. Now with the fiber service, we can get you anything you want. Like right now we have 5 different speed packages on the residential side that start as low as $35 a month, and that'll get you symmetrical speeds of 25 megabytes per second. So that's both download and upload speed. And it goes all the way up to 1 gig, which is the fastest speed you can get anywhere in the world right now. It's 1,000 megabytes per second, and that's $100. Flat rate, includes taxes, everything. You get an invoice from us. That's what the price is. But yeah, so with the benefit with the fiber too, it's a dedicated program line to your home, so it's not shared. A lot of other competitors, it's a pool of bandwidth, and depending on where you're at in relation to their volts, you're going to see a lot of variability in the speeds that you get. Whereas with our fiber service, you should consistently get the speeds that you're paying for to your router. So that's just one of the many benefits with that fiber service.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
What's your timeline on this?
So the timeline again, I mean, hopefully it'll be, as soon as the ground thaws, early spring, Vulcan get started on the process of getting the boring done, getting the conduit in there, the bolts. And then once that's done, that's when our team's gonna go through. We'll be pulling the actual fiber optic cable into the bolts, doing the splicing, getting everything ready, and that's when we can start signing customers up with the service. Another thing to note that I know it's come up in the past, we don't run the lines to every individual home. It's going to be encased in that vault until a customer actually signs up for the service. If that makes sense for you.
The reason I asked was there's a major construction on Brady Street right up in here this spring or summer.
Okay.
Might help you, might not, I don't know.
They're gonna have it open?
They're gonna have to. But I mean, you might want to talk to the Public Works or the engineers.
Help you out a little bit?
Might work for you, might work against you, I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, that may expand to more than just that street. We probably ought to be open communication of what construction projects, what street projects we have going on beyond maybe just
Well, we
Brady
don't have
Street.
anything north on here, it's why I didn't.
For this summer. I was thinking beyond this summer.
Yeah.
What's
even-
this summer?
Even new subdivisions, we've gone in, new subdivisions before they started and put our conduit in, just make everybody else
Okay.
stay ahead of the game.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Look forward to working with you.
Yeah, thank you.
So next on the agenda is setting a public hearing date to vacate Lot A. This is that little strip of driveway that you saw referred to earlier for the NICC roundabout. It's currently city property. That'll be handed over to NICC. So I need a motion to set a public hearing date.
March 10th, okay? I'll make a motion to set that public hearing date for March 10th.
I'll second.
Doug, aye.
Karen, aye.
John, I.
Jerry, aye.
Kathy, aye.
And similarly, we need to set a public hearing date for the fiscal year 21 budget. Also, a motion for March 10th would be good.
I'll make the motion to set the public hearing date for fiscal 21 budget for March 10th. Is that right?
Second. Doug, aye.
Karen, aye.
John, I.
Jerry, aye.
Kathy, aye.
All right, next on the agenda is a proposal for metals compliance.
This is the same proposal that we looked at before. I also forwarded the council an email with some additional information that you have requested, possibly on some other perspectives on how to tackle this problem. So I know we can discuss it, it can be tabled, it's not something that's pressing. I mean, eventually we are going to have to make a decision as to how we want to address it or a way to address it.
We have to make a decision. What are our choices, Whitney?
So the proposal presented was an agreement with IIW to engage them to write a metals ordinance, a metals monitoring ordinance for our wastewater department. So that would give us additional authority with some of our industrial users to begin sort of actively pursuing a solution to what we see as metals popping up in some of our numbers. Now the X factor to that, what provides the other option, is that we aren't sure how the new treatment process of our plant will affect those numbers. Nobody can just say that. So there is concern, or it should be noted, that we could invest resources, get our numbers leveled out now, and those numbers could change when the new treatment plant is thrown in place. When that's, we don't know what that process is gonna yield. So, but there's also time will be of the essence once the treatment plant comes on board, because the sludge that it will be turning out, if we continue to have high metals rates, then it will be it's a land application issue. So it's affecting the sludge. So once that plant comes online, we will want to have a solution fairly quickly, but there's not a lot of way to predict how the chemistry is going to all balance out with our new process.
And we're working now with the companies that are the metal issues, what we have the metal issues with, as far as letting them know and giving them heads up that, hey, you guys are not qualifying.
Yes, yeah, we have reached out. I mean, everybody received the same communication from the DNR, which is good. So and we have identified kind of some initial low-hanging fixes, but it's a pretty technical process. Pre-treatment is. You can't treat metals. You don't just dump a chemical in like you can treat other nutrients. So it's pre-treatment or making sure they don't get into the water to begin with.
So our choices are wait and see after the wastewater treatment facility is in place, or contract with IIW to author an ordinance. And those are the two that we know of now?
Yep.
Okay.
Would the ordinance change after we get our wastewater treatment facility? Is there a possibility that something might change there?
The only thing that could change then would be the level. So there's really two parts to the ordinance. So there's structure, basically the body, the statutes that give the city the authority to enter the premises to test their water, or the city to fine industrial users if they are repeatedly non-compliant. And then there's a limits section. So the statutes will be the same, that language will be fine. It's the limits that could potentially have to be adjusted based on what our plant is churning out. If we feel our plant could handle X load, that's divided by the number of users, and we just metal and they, you know, figure out what everybody can hold. And if we still are missing our targets, then those numbers are what would have to be adjusted again.
So we have to do this same agreement then at that time?
Or just a
test or how?
Yeah, it would not be an agreement to this extent. It would be the levels, the limits, the actual numbers allowable would have to be adjusted.
I'd prefer us to go out for bid on this if we ain't underneath the time restraint. And
It's not like we have to act on it right now.
right.
have we heard from the DNR on this yet, as far as, are they,
No, I filed a response letter that was required in the letter that we received and included some reports that they received from their files that we had in our file, so we have not heard.
so they're not hounding,
No, and
us?
that's pretty typical, that's pretty typical.
So does the DNR help these businesses solve these metal issue problems? Or it's up to the businesses
Yeah,
themselves?
they're the heavy hand of the law, that's it.
Yeah.
Well, I think it would make sense to go out and get a couple alternative options.
Yeah.
Well, I think even to just table it and see what happens as we progress.
Yeah, versus having to redo it once we get it.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we were in communication with these businesses, you know, and they can do whatever they can to get the metals down, you know, prior to our new wastewater treatment facility being open, maybe we'll be in a better position then.
What type of responses have we gotten from the businesses when?
They're great to work with. With metals, there's a little bit of I don't want to say discrepancy. It's hard to really identify exactly where they're coming from, right? That's part of the problem. There are processes, and you know certain metals are coming out of these processes, but then you kind of have some other metals present, and you know, are those a byproduct of some other things that are happening, or is there maybe a tiny bit of something in existing water that's coming in? So they're very cooperative. The issue is that there's a little bit of a guessing game, you know, and and the businesses aren't aware either. There's nobody's any the wiser. It comes down to, you know, public works staff popping manholes and figuring out, okay, there's moly in this sample, which feeds into this manhole. Okay, it's these 5. Now I got to test all those 5. And tests are hard. You can't just test one day and that's it. You kind of have to have a pattern because there's just funky things you can test.
They dump on different days. Or
Right. It just takes some time to build up that reliable data. So.
And right now they're not able to go into the facilities to test?
Well, they could just with their permission. Yeah, we don't suspect any negligence or anything. It's just not always.
It might just be easier to get more accurate tests for each business to kind of help them.
Well, and from the same spot, and sometimes you can sample in 2 different spots and get 2 different numbers.
So another motivation maybe to table this for now is just yesterday I had taken a phone call from somebody who's alleging he's got some technology that can address the metals in the water, but I don't understand it. So I forwarded that on to Dean, and I don't think Dean's had a chance to look at it yet.
Yeah.
But there may be another option to consider. So if there's no negative impact to tabling it for today, maybe that's all right, actually.
I'll second.
Doug, aye.
Karen, I.
John, I.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Sure, thank you.
Okay, and then the last spot here under administration is actually labeled as other. I think the attachment might be under citizen comment, but if it's okay, I'll do it here.
Yep.
We wanted to share the name we came up with was a 2020 micro plan. There's been a number of moving pieces, due not in small part to a new council member, a new mayor, and a number of other moving pieces. So there's been a fair amount of activity, and Whitney put this together. I think this is a nice summary of what we've got going on. It doesn't need a motion of any sort. It's just for the discussion. You want to talk through that a little bit, Whitney?
Yeah. The city council went through a goal setting process in the summer, And that was the first time we'd been through that, so it was a good learning process. But there were several opportunities identified. So we started with kind of a traditional SWOT analysis that we modified a bit to serve our purposes. So some of the weaknesses and opportunities that were identified are listed above, including for all of our city, creating some bizarre traffic patterns, industrial infrastructure, some stormwater deficiencies, a need for additional outdoor recreation spaces, some housing concerns, and also some concerns about our preparedness to handle future annexations. So this is meant to, and I think it serves its purpose, sort of trigger the council's thought process on additional policies, investments, capital improvements, the budget. So these goals frame really everything that we do. So we currently are engaged in a number of planning and study initiatives. Of course, the wastewater treatment plant would be the largest of those initiatives. We are also engaged in a study to evaluate our lift stations because we have experienced rampant growth, and some of these lift stations have been in place for a long time. So the number of homes they were serving 10 years ago or even 15 years ago is vastly different than the properties they're serving now. So we're taking a hard look at those. We also have a large stormwater and transportation study, which is being conducted in what's called Basin 2. So that would be up by the industrial park along Peosta Street, where some of that stormwater infrastructure and those roads were put in some time ago and are not able to serve their purpose effectively. And we also have a watershed assessment in progress, which is taking a look at water quality and how what we're doing affects other people downstream, what some other properties that drain into the city, how those are affecting our infrastructure. There's also some, in that instance, there's a pretty significant grant opportunity of over $500,000, so that watershed assessment will be submitted with a grant application shortly. And then most importantly, we have 3 initiatives scheduled that are really just getting kicked off or about to get kicked off. So these proposals were brought to the council specifically to meet information gaps or vacuums in data and information that the council needs to make specific targeted decisions about the future. The housing assessment was just recently approved. That will include an on-site. That will happen in March, so that's moving along quickly. A master parks and trails plan RFP was led, and so we will be receiving proposals back from consultants in March, the end of March, and we hope to get that going rather quickly. And then finally, the summit, I think, of all of this information will be the comprehensive plan update. It's 5 years old, which is not too terribly old, but Peosta has changed considerably in the last 5 years, and we expect that trend to continue over the coming 5 years. So that comprehensive plan update will incorporate all of this information that we've been gathering and will provide the best long-term snapshot of where we're headed and how the council will proceed to get there. Are there any questions?
Council good?
Is this going to be posted on the website?
Yeah, we sort of drafted it with that.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. Good information for everybody to kind of be able to go through.
I like it. Yeah, hopefully it demonstrates that we're doing our due diligence to make well-informed decisions. Okay.
I like the new design too, by the way. Looks good.
Yeah, this is our first council meeting with it, isn't it? On the door.
Yeah.
So this is probably as good a time as any. We can now open the meeting up for public comment. How many people noticed the new branding on the door as you came in? No.
Casey, no?
I didn't know it was new.
I want to sit on the car. I didn't know that was on the
Yep. It's on the car. I think it's gonna, will it end up on Dean's truck as well?
I saw it on the police station.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's fine.
So this will be the part of the meeting for public comment. So anybody who's got something they want for the good of the council, please, now's your time to speak.
The last council meeting that I was at, I was to turn in a pre-annexation, which I did on Thursday, and I haven't heard a response from that. And then I thought it was going to be part of it on the agenda.
So
Do you have any comments for me, or?
there's 2 annexation agreements that are concurrent. We had some conversation over the weekend with one. What I might suggest to you, Deb, is if you can afford this to hang around after the meeting, we can kind of close the loop on that one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you have something?
I didn't get to ask this earlier, but like, will this fiber internet like expand into like the Thunder Hills area?
We
Would've been a good
don't know
question.
that because we would not be privy to that since it's not part of the city. I would assume if they're here, they would probably head that way. But that'd be up to the homeowners association, I presume.
Well, I think, yeah, I live out in Thunder Valley, so not quite out that far east, but I know they said eventually they hope to just keep working north and east, so.
They'll do it right after you move out. Yeah, it wasn't lost on me. They're coming through and doing this right after 3 Xboxes left my house. Anything else?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. Doug, aye.
John, I.
Jerry, aye.
All righty, that's our meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Signatures.